All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. Welcome, folks. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Susan mentioned it, I think, right before the recording started, but for those of you that are joining us on the recording version, welcome. This will be a quick webinar for a product showcase of the Good Jobs Challenge grant data management and reporting system that we have built. This is an application that lives on top of AGS Prime, which is our flagship software development platform that you'll get to take a look at here in just a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and walk you through a little bit of background information on AGS, and then I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who will actually dive into a live demonstration of the platform and the data management system for y'all. So let's get going.
Okie dokie. I'm going to go ahead and, do you want me to change to the next slide here real quick?
Yes, please. Yep. Oh, sorry. Yep. Introductions. I'm John Hawkins, AVP, Partnerships and Business Development. My wonderful colleague, Susan, Vice President of Sales and Marketing.
Moving on.
If you have any questions throughout the webinar here, feel free to answer those in chat. We'll try to save a couple minutes at the very end for questions. And the last slide will also have our contact information in it for you. So AGS Data Systems, or AGS, we're a national leader in web-based data collection and management systems. So we're a bespoke software development company with 25 years of experience. We've worked with 40 plus federal grant programs, whether those be DOL, EDA, ARPA, so on and so forth. So we are very much subject matter experts in all things Perl and WIPS related in terms of data compliance and reporting, and so on and so forth. Oh, one thing that I want to note, we were, you can go to the next slide. This was a housekeeping thing that I forgot to do at the very beginning. There was apparently a little bit of confusion this week around the sort of the coincidence of this webinar happening the same week as the Good Jobs Challenge convening in Washington, D.C. So we just want to make it very clear to everybody, this webinar nor AGS are affiliated with EDA in any way. This isn't an EDA sanctioned or sponsored event. This is very much just an AGS Data Systems webinar to introduce folks to a tool that we've built that a number of Good Jobs Challenge recipients subscribe to. So there's my compliance spiel. So anyways, okay, so back to the background. In those 25 years, we've supported 200 plus organizations, which translates to millions and millions of participant records. A handful of organizations that we work with on the right-hand side there. You'll notice a number of those folks are Good Job Challenge recipients, as well as some other organizations. Typically, our customer base involves community colleges, universities, workforce agencies, other training orgs, foundations, social service orgs, healthcare systems, etc. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, AGS Prime is our flagship product. It is an application development platform. The template that we're going to look at today is actually built on top of AGS Prime. So you can think of, at the very basic level, you can think of AGS Prime sort of like Microsoft Excel, and then all of the data management systems that we build on top of that are like the new spreadsheets that you would open a new spreadsheet to collect data on the books in your library or participants at a job fair or whatever. You can, at the very most simplistic way, you can think of it that way. AGS Prime is a no-code development platform. It literally drag and drop, and you'll see that as we go through this. You can use it to collect and track compliant data for participants, partners, training programs, employment outcomes, the chili cook-off, your March Madness brackets, whatever data elements that you want to capture, you could use Prime to spin up an application to do so. And the wonderful thing about this template or Prime in general is the way that it's architected, the reports that it will generate, specifically your outcomes reports and your WIPS reports, you can do in just a number of clicks. The system does all the alphanumeric coding that's required by the WIPS system for your WIPS reporting. You input data like normal, let the system do what systems do. You click a couple buttons, hit download, and out comes a WIPS report exactly the way that you need it to upload. Additionally, we provide a ton of support. So not only do you get our phone numbers and cell phone numbers and email addresses, you get ongoing system updates for validation and compliance. So we monitor the various grant programs for the templates that we build. In this case, the Good Jobs Challenge. So if there are any reporting changes that the feds pass down during one of the quarterly update meetings, we monitor that, and then we go ahead and on the back end make all of those changes for our customers, so they don't ever have to worry about missing compliance in terms of one of those updates. So we do that as part of the subscription. Monthly user group webinars for training and announcements, so that you can ask us questions, ask questions of your colleagues, fellow grantees. There's a ton of training documents and video tutorials, and you get unlimited admin training and tech support. And like I said, literally our cell phone numbers and email addresses, so you can give us a shout if you have questions or need help with anything. And now I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Susan, who is going to dive into the Good Jobs Challenge Grant Data Management and Reporting System template that we've built on top of AGS Prime.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you, John. And we just skip over here real quick. So thank you for that, that great background. I'm going to kind of surf through this or jog through this demo at a pretty high level. Make sure everybody can see, make sure you can see what the reports look like, particularly your quarterly data management report for Good Jobs Challenge, and a handful of other canned reports that come with the system, and kind of walk through a little bit about what the forms look like. Everybody's seen forms and fields before, so I like to, when I attend these kinds of sessions, I want to get to the so what. So what are we going to use this for? We're going to use this to keep track of this compliant data that we have to manage and massage every quarter to submit to EDA. So with that said, what you're seeing just kind of overall is just the application, the template, the pre-built compliant turnkey application. Back up the bus, turn it on, and it's ready to go with all the fields, the business rules, and the key reports that are required to manage and run this grant with compliant data and compliant reporting. So you see a menu across the top. Home, which takes you here, your participant management area where all of the participants are going to reside, your potential participants, and your enrolled participants. It's a case management, case folder type of an architecture, so we're going to be able to keep track of registrations or intake and program enrollment and training and completions and credentials and employment and services we need to keep track of for this grant, with a humans helping humans kind of an approach. This electronic case folder and electronic file cabinet kind of a concept. We have our employer management module here for Good Jobs, where we're going to be able to keep track of our employers for whom our participants ideally are working for, and you may have employers who are tasked with really specifically going out and recruiting employers to be part of your grant initiative, grant project. There's a self-registration module that you can utilize. Actually, I'm going to jump over here. You can utilize to expose self-reg to the public for that initial data entry, for that initial demographic information. And this can be presented off your website. It can be emailed out. It can be any number of ways that you can have participants access a self-registration, portal. There's an application admin module associated with this, so that your application administrators, who we train, John and I train for the application, are going to be able to manage keywords and catalogs behind the scenes for your data entry and data management for compliance. And then last but not least is reports. Let me start with, as you would expect in any commercial product, pre-built, pretty, compliant, template-based reports, canned reports. Excuse me.
I will interject that the code book and the Q&Rs are pretty. The WIPS report is not pretty. It's exactly how it's supposed to be, but it is not pretty.
Exactly. Thank
Unless
you.
you like the matrix and ones and zeros and the alphanumeric coding. But
So I'm going to go ahead and start, first of all, as promised, with your quarterly Good Jobs Challenge data collection instrument report. And this is exactly what our customers' sites look like when they run this. This is my demo site, so there's only demo data here. We're going to put in a start date, the calendar year. You can manage this by calendar quarter. I'll say the starting quarter was Q1. And for my demo, I'm going to run this all the way through, just for grins and giggles, all the way to calendar 2024 through quarter 4. And I'm going to go ahead and run this report. The report is here. I'm going to pop it open. And again, this is exactly what our customers are able to do. It's going to generate this report. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And what we have done is we have generated this workbook automatically, and it matches exactly what EDA and Census have provided for you, with the exception of the macros that Census does not expose. But with this report, if you look down to the worksheets, we start out with the training provider that is here in this catalog. The participant database sheet is automatically pre-filled for each of your participants, and the data, that the columns and the rows map exactly to the requirements for this report. And by the way, when when the feds they did make a change for this report not too long ago, that on the first page, the training provider worksheet, they added the sectoral partner column. So we added that at no cost to our customers, and we did it right away as soon as we heard about it, so that the report is completely compliant and stays up to date. So we move through these worksheets, and if you've been running this report, you know that these worksheets map the columns and rows exactly, word for word, what is specified for this grant. So our customers are running this report, and all they need to do then is just copy the data and paste it, and then toggle over to the worksheet and paste it in. Completely done and ready to go and compliant with EDA and Census. We can scroll all the way through down to earn and learn, the salaries, career prep, and the overview. All of this is being calculated automatically for you from the fields, the data element requirements, and the requirements for the report itself. So all of that is being computed for you. In addition to this, first among equals report that is here, we do have a code book. And for the data analysts, right, this is your Good Jobs Challenge Bible for reporting purposes. I'm in a demo site, so I see lots of code books. I'm going to jump down to my Good Jobs Challenge Training and Participant Questionnaire code book. I'm going to run this. And it is here where AGS continue documentation on how Prime is managing the data as is required for your quarterly report. So everything here, every single field is described, and you have the code behind the scenes for how everything is being computed and managed across every single worksheet in that quarterly report workbook. So you never have to wonder, how is Prime managing part-time employment? Everything is here for you. I want to be sensitive to time. In addition to a couple of canned reports, we also provide for you queries or data exports for every single field from every single form. It's your data. We simply host it for you. You have access to everything 24/7. And all of these just extract data out to a CSV file. We also give you, because we've been managing these kinds of grants for a million years, we know that our customers like to see some additional types of, graphical or data visualization types of reports to help you not only tell your story to, your potential next grantor or your board, your boss, as well as provide augment reports to EDA on a regular basis and to your FPO. So we know that services are a big part of this grant. We provide you with a services dashboard. You can keep track of the costs of services directly in Prime and be able to report on that. Demographics is an interesting attribute that we all know that grantees really want to be able to keep track of. There's not a lot of that detail that is required by this grant, but we have all of our customers are extremely desirous of being able to track and therefore report, especially visually, a lot of this demographic information. Some of our customers are very focused on rural, they're very focused on DEI attributes, et cetera, et cetera. So we give them that capability to not only track the data, but then report on it and tell that story. Let me jump back quickly just for the sake of time and take a look at what the data looks like going in. So we see here our participants for whom we have some data. I'll pick on my favorite test customer, Buddy Holly. I'm going to open up his case folder by clicking the little green folder icon. And we can see in this participant's case folder, when I open it up, I see a series of categorized document types, paper-clipped sections, if you will, or color-coded tabs, depending upon how you're used to sort of managing this kind of data. Think of it like I've gotten up out of my chair and walked over to the file cabinet and pulled out the H drawer and extracted the manila file folder for Holly, Buddy, and walked back to my desk and opened it up, and in it I see these paper-clipped sections. So that's kind of what we're seeing. So here's his participant profile. It mimics very much the self-registration form that we can expose to our participants. So we're able to capture much or all of this data, should you want to, from self-reg and be able to have that here. You can see we've got business help text baked right into the fields. We can see which fields are set to required with the little asterisks. When a required field, for example, sex, is not filled in, but it's a required field for our form, my save button up here no longer is live. And now the help, or now this field is pink. So just some examples of on-form business rule management and compliance that Prime is baked into the system. You can, should you want to, add additional fields to these forms beyond what is expected and required for good jobs. We have many customers who want to add additional fields to forms that they're accustomed to tracking, or now they have this grant, there's some other things they just want to be able to track. So those kinds of additional fields are easily added. We train you, as John was saying earlier, to build your own applications should you want to. Most of our customers do. So you can easily add more forms, other fields. Some you maybe all of a sudden you want to track eye color for your participants. Very simple to do. So you're stuck with just the fields that are in this template. You can always add things to it. We will be monitoring you and working with you so that you don't configure yourself out of compliance. We want to make sure that you stay in compliance first and foremost with EDA. And then you can color outside the lines from there, including creating additional reports and queries and graphical reports as well. So we have our participant profile. We then ultimately decide which training program they're going to be enrolled in, associated with the training provider and their training program name. And we're going to keep track of this information associated with the training program, as well as their employment status after 6 months. This is
And for all places,
services. Go ahead, John.
Oh, sorry. In all places possible, we work with our customers to set up catalogs. And I think Susan mentioned that, but we try to eliminate or reduce the amount of keystroking that staff have to do. So pretty much everywhere possible, if there is the ability to do category selection or a drop down or a yes no radio button, that sort of thing, we do that so that you don't end up with a training program name that's misspelled or something, so it doesn't quite get captured correctly in the data. So we try to eliminate those keystroke errors with by simplifying things for your staff with drop down menus and
exactly.
So on and so forth.
We've been building these kinds of systems for about 25 years. And so we are extremely sensitive and have lessons learned buckets of our own about how to maximize the user interface, as they say, the experience. And as John says, throughout the application, we do everything we can to make it easy for end users to enter data and frankly, never have to take their hand off the mouse as much as possible to make it fast and easy and accurate data for reporting purposes. We're keeping track of services. Again, this drop-down field, we have this pre-populated for you with the values that are expected at a minimum and reportable for this grant. Wraparound services as the category in career and job prep services. Everything is associated with the participant and their program enrollment. We keep track of their credentials attained. We have these allowable values. Again, a catalog for credential names, so you can report on that. Keeping track of employment, of course, very key. Is this employment considered a good job? And that's a required field so that it's going to fit appropriately in your data management report. And where we say what type of employment, if we say other, baked in business logic, the employment type other field is now set to required. The earn and learn model field is now set to required, and the only allowed values for reporting in this grant are automatically filled in for you. So again, not just ease of data entry, but accurate data entry for reporting for this grant based on the specifications that EDA has set forth. We provide a case note, even though that's not a reportable requirement. It's a case management system, so we always provide a method for keeping track of, for case managers to keep track of notes. Again, it's humans helping humans moving through that process, as well as participant attachment documents. Very heavily used portion of application. Again, not really the business processes of keeping track of good data for monitoring and auditing. So we have a couple of minutes that I am going to preserve for us to go jump back to our our last slide and see if there are any questions or other comments or anything else you'd like us to specifically cover.
Thanks, Susan. Is there upload functionality to the participant case record, or is it manual every time?
No, it's not. Doesn't have to be manual every time. You can do keystroking for data entry, like in real time, so to speak. And there is a very easy to use intuitive import capability as well.
Okay, that's nice.
And for the imports, Maggie, it's you can upload import data from a CSV file, and Prime has baked in API capabilities as well. So if you have an existing data system with API endpoint capability, you can set up a data import to connect that endpoint to the system, so that you just have to push run and it'll ping your system and pull in the data that's required.
Awesome.
Okay, well then, I guess we will see you in DC. That concludes everything. John, anything else you have to say? Any final words of wisdom for us?
Nope, that's everything. Thanks everybody for joining us or watching the video. And if you will be in DC the end of this week, we will see you there. If not, feel free to reach out to us if you have questions.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.